This episode is about Sobekneferu, last pharaoh of the 12th Dynasty. Very little is known of her, and for over 3,800 years, her story was buried under sand, swallowed by silence, lost to time, erased from memory. The echo of her name faded as centuries passed, her achievements obscured, her image forgotten. The truth about Africa from Africans. The year is 1806 BC. The Middle Kingdom is flourishing, an era of revival, architecture, and ambition. Egypt's heart beats strong. The temples of Karnak rise towards the heavens. The Nile flows thick and steady, nourishing the black land, Kemet, from which life is born. But in the royal city of Ishtawa, beneath the golden banners and limestone walls, a storm brews behind the throne. Sobekneferu, meaning the beauty of Sobek, was born into the divine bloodline of the 12th dynasty. A lineage of power, intellect, and sacred duty. She was the daughter of Pharaoh Amenemhat III, a master builder, a god king, and one of Egypt's greatest rulers. His vast irrigation projects fed millions. His architectural marvels reshaped the landscape. From her earliest years, Sobekneferu walked the halls of governance. She absorbed the pulse of the empire, diplomacy, theology, mathematics, language, arts. She wasn't just royal by birth, she was brilliant by nature. And though she lived in a world where kingship was a man's inheritance, she learned what kings must know, how empires live and how they fall. She was never meant to rule. That future was promised to her brother Amenemhat IV, her likely co-regent. His reign, though legitimate, was brief and faint in history's memory. He died young, no sons, no heirs, no clear successor. The throne stood empty. The kingdom stood vulnerable. A power vacuum yawned at the center of Egypt's might. And in that silence, Sobekneferu stepped forward, not as regent, not as consort, not as proxy, but as pharaoh. She laid claim to the crook and flail. The Ural serpent adorned her brow. The double crown sat upon her head. She didn't ask to rule, she declared it. She became pharaoh in her own right. And Egypt, for the first time in recorded history, had a woman as its supreme ruler. Unlike Tawaseret, who became pharaoh regent after the death of her husband and appears to have co-reigned with Siptah, Sobekneferu was not regent. She was pharaoh and reigned supreme alone. Sobekneferu's ascension to the throne was radical, but not without strategy. In a world where kingship was sacred and male-coded, Sobekneferu aligned herself with the divine. She invoked Sobek, the crocodile god of strength, protection, fertility, and kingship. Her very name invoked his power, Neferu of Sobek, an identity both political and spiritual. She did not simply step into the role, she transformed it. The priests whispered, the generals doubted, the courtiers clung to the past. Could Egypt survive the reign of a woman? Sobekneferu answered them, not with swords, but with symbols, not with conquest, but with clarity. She took the fivefold titulary, the full royal titulature used by pharaohs to legitimize their rule. She adorned herself with male regalia, the false beard, the Nim's headdress, the traditional royal kilt. Yet she did not hide her womanhood, she fused it with power. She redefined what it meant to be pharaoh. Her reign lasted only 4 years, but within that short time, Sobekneferu stabilized a kingdom on the brink of dynastic rupture. She governed not with brute force, but with institutional wisdom. Her lineage as daughter of Amenemhat III lent her immense legitimacy. She referenced him often in her inscriptions, a deliberate invocation of continuity and order. In a society rooted in divine order, Ma'at, her leadership ensured that balance was preserved, and in doing so, she carved a new path for women, for rulers, and for African sovereignty. Sobekneferu grew up immense in the sacred traditions of the Nile Valley, the cradle of one of the world's most sophisticated civilizations. Her African identity was not incidental, it was foundational. She was part of an indigenous black dynasty, part of a heritage rich in intellect, ritual, and rule. Her reign disrupts tired Eurocentric narratives that frame Egypt as a distant offshoot of Asia or Europe. It was Africa. She was Africa. Her leadership was not an anomaly, it was a return to principle. She expanded upon the architectural works of her father, including the labyrinth at Hawara, a sprawling mortuary complex near the Fayoum. This site, both a spiritual center and a marvel of engineering, symbolized Egypt's mastery of both earth and spirit. By continuing its construction, Sobekneferu honored Amenemhat III's legacy while asserting her own presence in the sacred landscape of kings. She restored temples, she sponsored festivals, she honored the gods. She strengthened Egypt not through conquest but through cohesion. No grand military campaigns are attributed to her, but perhaps that is her greatest legacy. She preserved Egypt's peace in a time that begged for chaos. And yet, when her reign ended, it ended without record. No tomb has been found, no clear cause of death. Silence returned. The 12th Dynasty collapsed. The throne passed into instability. Later rulers, seeking to reassert male dominance, erased her name from the king's list. Her statues were broken. Her monuments were defaced. Her memory buried. Was it because she was a woman? Was it a political casualty? Or just time, grinding slowly, eroding all? We may never know, but now we remember. Sobekneferu is more than a historical footnote. She is a beacon, a blazing symbol of African womanhood, the shoulder on which other female leaders of Africa have stood, the autonomy and the rule that she carried. Her story reclaims the truth that black women have always held power, long before modern movements gave it a name. She wasn't the only one. The Kandeks of Kush, warrior queens of Nubia, ruled with pride and force. Queens like Amenemhat led armies. Makeda, queen of Sheba, governed vast lands. Egypt's own Hatshepsut and Cleopatra would follow Sobekneferu's precedent, but she was the first. Her rule reframes history. It challenges the idea that women in antiquity were mere shadows behind kings. It calls us to correct the record, to name the forgotten, to lift up the voices that time tried to silence. Sobekneferu stands as proof that Africa's history is deeper, richer, and more complex than colonial textbooks dare to admit. Her legacy is a call to scholars, to artists, to truth seekers, to reclaim what was lost and honor what was hidden. In just 4 years, she changed the story of what was possible in Egypt. She changed how kingship and gender was viewed, Long before Cleopatra, long before Hatshepsut, there was Sobekneferu, the first confirmed woman to wear the crown of Egypt and claim the title of Pharaoh. Her legacy rewrites the story of power, of gender, and of Africa. She was not a footnote, she was a force. History, as written by the colonizers, tells us that female pharaohs were rare and women in Africa were subservient. But this is not true. In Africa, queens have always ruled, and female warriors and strategists were the norm. We just fell under the forced ignorance of colonization and forgot to remember. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which other lost queens of African history do you want to see next? Let's uncover them together.